Hi, Gloria, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. We are ready to start when you are.
Okay, who's going to start the meeting?
Do you want to start it?
Do you want us to go ahead and start it, Chair, or do you want me to start it?
Go ahead and start it, Jackie. It's hard to do when you're not in
Okay.
person.
See if I remember. Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we can please get roll call.
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Present.
Commissioner Isiano, Commissioner Fajardo,
Present.
Vice Chairperson Lopez,
Present.
Chairperson Franz.
Present. Remotely.
Okay, and just note for the record, Commissioner Isiano is absent and Chairperson Franz is joining us via Zoom.
Great. And at this time, we'll go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Rodriguez, could you please lead us?
Of course.
Thank you.
Place your right hand over your heart and with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next item is our public comments for items not on the agenda. Do we have any comments?
There are none.
There are none. Great.
Madam Chair, if I may, just real quick, can we also have chairperson's just location for the record, and this way we just have the location for the record.
Okay, I'm here. This is Gloria Franz. I am unable to come in person today. I'm not feeling 100%, and I am joining remotely from 23,000 Newport Coast Drive, Newport Coast.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. And our minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of the May 22nd, 2024. If anybody has any comments on those minutes, and if we have a motion to approve.
A motion to approve the minutes, May 22nd, 2024.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Abstain.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes, approved.
Vice Chairperson Lopez,
Yes.
Chairperson Franz.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing item. This is request for continuance to date and time certain of to June 26, 2004. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioners, and Chair, Vice Chair Lopez, and Chair Franz. So the item before you is a request for continuance to a date and time certain of June 26, 2024, for resolution number 2091, requesting for the Planning Commission conditional approval of the planning review permit land use entitlement application for the development of a 10 two-story multifamily buildings located on 3 parcels at the southeast corner of Jackson Street and Avenue 44, and determining that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines pursuant to Section 15332 infill development. The recommendation is following consultation with the applicant, staff request that the Planning Commission take motion action to continue the public hearing for this item to a date and time certain, as mentioned, June 26 of 2024 at City Hall. Because this public hearing item was previously noticed, staff recommends the Planning Commission receive any written oral comments today, if applicable, for the public record. These comments will be included with the agenda packet for the Commission's June 26, 2024 regular meeting. So that's all I have today.
So do we go ahead and make a motion to, oh, sorry, for public hearing, go ahead and open that up. Do we have any comments in regards to the?
There are none.
Thank you. well.
So if I made the motion would be to continue the
Continue.
item to date certain of June 26th. That would be it.
I'll make a motion to continue the item to date certain of June 26th at 6 p.m.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Lopez,
Yes.
Chairperson Franz,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next is we have no action items and moves us to the study session, which is the project consultation, and I will be recusing myself from this item.
And just for the record, as I understand, the reason for the recusal is that you lease a piece of property located within 500 feet of the location.
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right. So, commissioners again, and chair, before you today is a project consultation we have for the proposed Arise Walk Built to Rent community project by Family Development Acquisitions. Just a little overview of the project. Again, it's proposed by Family Development Acquisitions. The representative for today is Vince Barbado. He will be kind of giving you guys a presentation of a little bit more details of what they have about the project once I conclude my presentation. The project is proposed to be located on a 16.6 acre lot located at 80120 Avenue 50. The site has a general plan designation of suburban neighborhood high, and the current zoning is dictated by the crossing specific plan. So that way you guys kind of get bearings on where the site is located. It is immediately east of Citrus Plaza and the Canopy, the new commercial development there, Canopy at Citrus. And then also west of the Desert River Estates, single family tract development there. The proposed project entails the development of 132 detached single family rental homes on a, again, mentioned 16.6 acre lot. I'll go ahead and pass it to Vince if he's online. That way he can give you guys more of detail of those, of what they are proposing if he is online.
I am.
Thank you for that. Before we get there, any staff questions before we move on to the developer?
It's informal,
Not
right?
at
So we
this
could
time.
ask questions. Oh, go ahead, Gloria.
Good evening. Can
No,
you hear
I'm
me?
good. No questions at this time from me. Thank you.
All right, seeing no questions?
Actually, I did
Go
have a
ahead.
question.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Christian.
So just want to clarify the crossing specific plan density designation. Is it anything different than the general plan overlay?
So the specific plan for the crossings does have a land use designation within itself, and within that, the density dictated for that is 103 units. Now, the general plan designation does have a density requirement, or a density, allowable density of 8 dwelling units per acre. So that's something to consider, that the applicant maybe can kind of, explain how they would move forward in the application if they were to propose it in an entitlement.
Thank you. And then one more thing. The will to serve from Indio Water Authority and Coachella Valley Water District for the sewage, that is inherited, or is that, or do they need to go through another process?
They would need to go through another process, especially if they're wanting to increase the amount of dwelling units on the project site. They will need to go through that process again with IWA to get that will serve letter. And then just to add on what Jose mentioned, The land use density for the project is consistent with suburban neighborhood 8. So like Jose mentioned, 8 dwelling units per acre. The current density designation for suburban neighborhood is 1 to 8 dwelling units per acre. The crossing consists of 16.6 acres and therefore has a maximum density allotment of 132 units. The crossing in the crossing's specific plan as it's currently proposed is 103 units, like Jose mentioned, or 6.20 dwelling units per acre.
But would still allow the increase of density?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. We'll now hear from the applicant.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Vincent Barabato. I'm one of the principals of Family Development. I don't know how many of you are familiar with our company, so I'll just give you a brief introduction rather than the long-winded one. But we are a local home builder located in the Coachella Valley. We're founded in 2002. Perhaps some of you know us. We've built some amazing communities in your beautiful city, such as The Orchard, Generations, Bella Vita, Bella Tierra. There's probably over 1,000 homes in total that we've built in the city of Indio, as well as working with you and their staff on developing a lot more than that. And we are local. I live in Palm Desert. All of the principals have homes in the desert. We all raised our kids there. And I point that out because we have a lot of local knowledge that we pride ourselves on, giving us kind of a competitive advantage in the marketplace because we live there. We shop there. Our kids go to school there. So we have a real good knowledge of the demographics and the population and the products that they're looking for. And many of our communities, as you might know, have won, the major awards in our industry for architecture and design. So what we have here, as pointed out by Jose, is an opportunity to purchase the 16 plus or minus acres that was formerly known as the Crossings. As it was pointed out, the general plan did allow up to 8 homes density, 8 to the acre. The specific plan was amended to the 6 point, whatever that number is, 6.3, because that was the map that the seller got approved when he processed the map for the Crossings. So our desire is to amend the specific plan while remaining in compliance with the general plan. The product that we've designed for this community is a product known now as BTR, or Build to Rent. It probably is a product that I would imagine you guys are very familiar with from a category standpoint, because I know that there have been other BTR communities approved by the city in the northern part of Indio near our Shadow Ranch community that we built, 15 years ago? It's hard to believe it's been that long. So what we're proposing is all single-story homes. They are fully detached homes. They range in size 700 square feet to approximately 1,200 square feet. There'll be 1 and 1.5, 2 and 3 bedroom homes. The product, if you can switch, yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. As Jose pointed out, the product is adjacent to the Citrus Shopping Center and the new Canopy restaurants. Our neighbors are so far very, very happy with us there because they're excited about us having residents that are going to be patrons of their restaurants and shopping and services. So if you go to the next slide. So this is kind of how our community blends in. We try to stay pretty close to the same idea as the plan that you had already approved with the Crossings. There is one main entry. You can go ahead and switch the slide. There's one main entry off of Avenue 50. We're making it a larger, a little bit more grand entry in order to not only create a an entry that works with fire and safety, but also an entry that is rather impressive and great from a street standpoint. We are also proposing a emergency access exit on the western boundary of the community, and that would be for fire and safety, which when we met with the staff, they had reviewed, and I think we're in complete compliance with all the requirements that are involved in the fire and safety codes. So it is going to be a gated community. It is a luxury rental community that will be professionally managed at all times. We generally work with Greystar Management, which you might be familiar with. They're one of the largest property management companies in the nation. Actually, I think they are the largest. We have a great relationship with them because we are building communities just like this throughout Arizona and Texas. Being local residents, we've been looking for an opportunity to build in our backyard. It was very challenging. As you know, California has a lot more fees involved in building, as well as a lot of higher costs than in states outside of California. But what we're excited about is that we found this property and we're working closely with the seller to make this dream come true. We've actually been able to negotiate everything so that we can make this community come to life. I want to point out what the community is designed primarily for is to provide a much needed product that isn't really being addressed by most of the cities in the Coachella Valley, and that is, this is not a trendy product. It's a product that fits a niche, actually a big niche in the market, and the ideal person that would love to live in one of these communities, and we know this because, again, we have tremendous amount of experience. We've been building these communities since their inception in 2017. So the demographics are the younger baby boomers. These are people that live all around this area that have the big home. Maybe the kids have left, maybe they're getting older, but they just don't want to manage that 2,000 square foot, 3,000 plus square foot home anymore. They want a much more manageable home. They don't want a large yard because, again, they're looking to simplify their lives. So this is the perfect product for them because it gives them the opportunity to feel like they're living in a single family home. There's no shared walls. They have a private yard. They have everything that a single family home offers them, yet it's fully maintained by our property management company, and they don't have to have any of the concerns or expenses that they normally associate. A lot of these residents are people that are retired. They have a very nice income, but they now have realized, especially in the last few years with inflation, that pension that they thought was going to be more than enough just isn't enough. And their biggest dilemma is they're sitting on the bulk of their savings via the equity that they have in their home. But they've got a problem because if they sell their home, if they refinance their home or take a HELOC, it raises their monthly nut, and that they can't have that. Or if they sell their home, their dilemma is that they have really no alternative other than a garden style apartment. And not that there's anything wrong with a garden style apartment, but for many of these buyers who have lived in a single family home for years, it just doesn't feel like a good move. So this gives them the ideal move, exactly what they're looking for. The other demographic that loves this product is what we would call the older millennials, probably ages, say 27 to 35. And these are individuals that either can't or don't want to buy a home yet. The average price of a home in India, as you probably know, is just under $520,000. Many of the millennials make great incomes, but they still have student debt. They don't have a lot of money in savings. They can't afford the down payment, or perhaps they're not ready to settle down and call a place home for a while because, as far as they're concerned, they're working on developing the next big app that's going to make them a gazillion dollars, and then they'll go move somewhere else. But there really isn't any of this product that is attractive to the millennials in our area of the Coachella Valley. And I think that that's a real problem, because I know that as our businesses grow and we get more and more great businesses such as the Tennis Garden and the Acrisure Center, and with all the jobs that are offered at the festivals, those are exactly the type of residents that we want in our city, because they have great incomes, and great incomes really help actually increase values of communities, and this is the perfect product for them. So, as I said, it is a gated community. It'll be 132 homes that will be single-family detached. Every home will have its own private yard, and we do understand that the density is a little bit higher than what was approved, but it is in compliance, and we are also proposing all single-story homes as opposed to the product that was previously approved that had two-story homes. If you go to the next slide, please. In response to or anticipation of our neighbors and trying to be good neighbors and employ good neighbor policy, we did take a look at the setbacks of our northern neighbors, and our neighbors to the north, which are also single-story homes, as you know, have an average setback of 30 feet. So rather than try to go within that, we purposely set back our homes the same 30 feet. And again, they are single-story homes. So we also buffered some of their homes by 2 park areas, because we're trying to, like I said, employ a good neighbor policy. To the east, if you go to the next slide, to the east, those neighbors are an average of 25 feet setback from the property line. So again, we decided rather than fight, we did the same exact setback, the 25 feet setback. So our homes are set back equal distance to theirs. So hopefully that will help make them happy. And we do want to stress that these are luxury rentals. These are not, there's nothing that I know in my travels and getting communities approved, there is sadly the general thought that people that rent homes somehow are criminals or gangsters. And we all know that that's simply not true, that these are renters by choice. Our typical renter is not a renter by need, it's a renter by choice. They simply are choosing to rent because they no longer want to own, or because they're not ready to own. The community has a lot of open space, more than I believe the required open space. Our typical communities when we build this product are 12 to the acre, and we generally have about 10% of open space, and that doesn't include the streets. I'm talking about the actual amenity areas. But in this particular case, since we wanted to stick with the general plan and keep it at 8 to the acre, there is even more open space than normal. And we created nice walking paseos throughout the community to create a nice neighborhood environment. A lot of, I know this word is a old word, but we have a lot of connectivity between the homes. We also are proposing to have a pedestrian gate on the western side of the community so that our residents have easy access to all the restaurants at Canopy, as well as the shopping and services at the Citrus Plaza. If you go to the next. We have different elevations for this product, but in looking at our neighbors, as I'm sure all of you know, our neighbors are pretty heavy in the Mediterranean design. Certainly this was part of what was going on at the time that these communities were built, but it still is a very attractive architecture. It always will be an attractive architecture. So you've got, as you can see, the Ralphs and the CVS. There you've got the heavy Mediterranean, as well as our neighbors adjacent to us and across the street. They all have the Mediterranean designs as well. So we decided, if you go to the next slide. I guess what this slide really helps show is, as city planners, I know that you know this, but so forgive me if I'm telling you something that is so easy to understand, but there are always concerns about what we build next to different commercial centers, and typically you will see apartments and multifamily communities built next to commercial centers, and those products generally provide the perfect transition product to the residential projects that are not necessarily adjacent to those commercial properties, but close to them. So our product is a multifamily product by category, but it is a much more attractive product because of its single-story nature. So it does provide a great transition product between the commercial center and our neighbors to the north as well as to the east of us. If you go to the next slide. So here are pictures of one of our similar communities that we built in the city of Litchfield Park in Arizona. Very, very similar demographics. And if you go back to that other slide, you'll see how interesting it is because it's almost the same exact situation. You can see to the top of that picture that's a Basha's grocery store, which is kind of like a Ralph's of Arizona, as well as there's restaurants, banks, services, CVS, and all those. So it really is almost kind of the identical geographical conditions to the site at Avenue 50. So now if we go back to the elevations. So the elevations that we're proposing are, again, Mediterranean, very, very much like our neighbors. They're going to fit in really perfectly with our neighbors' architecture, so it's going to blend in well. We do plan on having a very nice perimeter wall along Avenue 50. We are in compliance with all the setbacks that the water department and everybody needs in order to allow for, I think there's going to be a widening of the area there, so we are in compliance with that. And you go on to the next one. And this is just another example. What we're proposing here is 106 of the units will have their own garage, and then 26 of them will not. We have found that some people don't want or need the garage, but a lot of people will appreciate it. And so the way to build value for the garage, quite simply, is to have some with the garage and some without. So the homes along Avenue 50, which nobody will see other than the residents that pull in, are the bungalows that will have carport covered parking, and the homes along our neighbors, as well as the interior of the community, will all feature a garage. As a side note, we are working with some of the local solar companies to get bids on offering a solar component so that we are in compliance with all the Title 24 requirements, and as well as offering what we think is a attractive product as more and more people are really looking at solar very favorably. If you go to the next slide, just another example of our architecture. Next slide. This just shows that everybody will have their own private yard. The yards that we're proposing, certainly along our perimeters, are going to be much larger than what's shown here because of our desire to be good neighbors and give the 30-foot setbacks and the 25-foot setbacks. These setbacks are 10 feet, but it does demonstrate to you that the beauty of this product is, unlike most multifamily products throughout the desert, not just in Indio, we have no attached walls. We have nobody above you, nobody below you, and we offer private yards. So it really does offer a great alternative for people that are choosing to rent, other than the typical garden-style apartments. Go on, please. Thank you. I don't think we need to get too into the floor plans, but we do have 3 of the floor plans already designed. This is a 1-bedroom. And it just kind of shows you that why it lives like a single-family home. You have an entry area. You don't just walk right into the kitchen like a lot of apartment communities do. You have a side-by-side washer and dryer, not a stackable like most apartments do. You have a very nice big primary bedroom, a nice large bathroom, and then you can see everybody will have a patio on their backyard, as well as we will be providing a turf area as well. Go on to the next. And the next 2, this is just other examples of our floor plans. Please go to the next. Next. Okay. Interiors, they're going to be finished much like the single-family homes that we build. Again, we're trying to give everybody a single-family experience. So we'll have granite or quartzite countertops. We will have stainless steel appliances. You know, we've learned by building for 21 years in the Coachella Valley, we know the type of features and fit and finish that our home buyers want, and we want to give our residents the same fit and finish because we know that it's important to them to have an experience that feels like they're living in a single-family home. You can go on. There's just more pictures of the interiors. Every community, or this community, we are going to have a full-time leasing office that will be at the entry to the community. The full-time leasing office will be staffed by our property manager at all times so that our residents always have access to our service. And that building will also serve as a gym and multi-purpose lounge for the pool area that is planned right there in the center of the community. Go on, please. This is an example. Again, we're trying to give a resort experience, not just a pool for pool's sake, where we want to give our residents the feeling like they're living in a beautiful resort in one of the beautiful areas of, say, Cabo San Lucas or the Caribbean. So we do include a lot of interior amenities to give our residents that experience. Please go to next. And that's just another picture that kind of shows you how it all works together and how beautiful the community actually lays out. Go on, please. Just more examples of our amenities. We are offering the dog parks. We know that our residents, the dog is a very important part of the family, or their dog or dogs are a very important part of the family. So we do offer dog parks as well as barbecue areas and dining areas. I'm not sure how long it'll stay, but cornhole is still a popular game. So we have a area for cornhole and bocce ball, or just, we really want to create social convergence areas that are meaningful to our residents, because that really enhances their living experience. And it's also works well for us because we love retaining our residents so that we don't have to continue to release every year after year. Go on, I think that might be the last. Oh, that's just a little bit of us. I'm the one in the front. In case you're wondering who's talking to you, go on again. So that's our presentation. We hope that you will embrace this opportunity. We're excited about getting going. We understand that our job is not to force anything upon you. It's to work with you so that we can hear your concerns and needs, and so that we can work together and bring this community to life. That's exactly what we want to do. And I think the last question, or the last important piece of information, is we want to get going on this and get it built as soon as possible. This is not something like the previous developer that's getting it approved just so that we have something to sell. This is something that we want to get approved so that we can build it and bring this community to life. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm here for any and all questions. And I also have Waldy Coronado. Jose, if you have, she is kind of more the technician of the design. I'm more of the aesthetic guy when it comes to the design. So we should be able to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Vincent. At this time, any questions from the commissioners for the applicant?
I have some questions.
Great.
Okay. Sorry I can't be there in person today. Thank you for coming before us. So, upon review of the project, we spent a lot of time on the crossings, designing something that we thought would be a good addition to Avenue 49, a little bit of transitional from the housing stock that we currently have. One of the big ones was that we thought these houses were not going to be for rent, if I remember correctly. They were going to be for sale. So one of the things that we think that in our market we're missing is entry-level middle market housing. So we kind of thought some of the houses toward the front of what was considered the crossings were going to maybe be part of that. Why the big change from something that was going to be sold to something that is now going to be basically a rental forever?
As I understood it from the broker that represented the seller, I did not understand that it was going to be a for sale. Now, that might have been a faulty comment from the broker, Ms. Franz, but we were told that it was actually designed to be for rent or for sale. The reason why we are presenting it as a for rent is because we recognize the huge demand for this type of for rent product in this area for this demographic. Nobody is building this product right now, and it fits, like I said, a very huge and up and growing part of the market. It's not just a passing fade or fad, I'm sorry. It is a very meaningful and ever-growing part of our population that this product serves. So although it's not for sale, we don't see that as a disadvantage whatsoever to the city or to the neighbors, because it is, again, a luxury rental community. Our rents, although they'll be higher than the typical apartment, which is generally, so you know, in our general markets, typically the rents are anywhere from 20 to 30% higher than a apartment, garden style apartment. And that, quite honestly, is because of all the advantages. You have no shared walls, you have no neighbors above or below you, and you have the private yards. So they generally get about 30% premium up to for that purpose. But that being said, if you take the average mortgage of a for sale home, and again in Indio, I'm not probably telling you anything you don't know, but in Indio the average price of a home is $520,000 roughly, and the average mortgage would be close to $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Our rents are going to be closer to $2,800 to $3,000 a month. So we're actually offering a much more affordable product for residents of Indio than any for sale home could be. Now, the other challenge that we would have if it was for sale is we simply couldn't build this product at a price point that would be considered affordable. It'll cost us more money to build each of these bungalows than the market would be willing to pay on a for sale basis. But we can do that because the value of a multifamily community is based on the rents that you get, not based on just the comparables in the area. So we hope that you can see that what we indeed are doing is providing you with what you want, an affordable product for your residents, yet in a different way than obviously you contemplated.
Okay. My other question is the 26 units without a garage. I mean, as much as we discussed not, wanting to be less car centric, right?
Yes.
Everyone pretty much still has at least a car. And so with our summer heat, I mean, a garage for most people is pretty priceless. So I'm kind of surprised that a third of the units would have no garage.
Okay. Well, the answer to that question is, so you understand this is not a maiden voyage of this product. As I told you, we've built it in Arizona where the temperatures are equally as hot. Actually, they were hotter last week in Arizona than they were in Indio. But the weather is fairly commensurate with the Arizona heat, and we do offer covered carports. The space everyone will have, I believe, we're in compliance with the city requirements for parking. So everyone will have a designated covered parking carport, as well as ample guest parking. And their covered carport will be within probably less than 50 feet from their front door, or 50 to 100. I think it's less than 50 in this case, which is very, very much an advantage over a multifamily community that some don't have covered parking, and some you have to walk a mile to get from your parking space to the front door. So that won't be the case here. But to your first point as well, it is an ability for us to provide a more affordable experience for some of our renters, because obviously the unit without the garage will rent for less than the unit with the garage. So it is, again, one of the reasons why we're doing it is to allow for that affordability, because that helps increase our market share. And quite honestly, from a business standpoint, I'm not going to shy away from it. From a business standpoint, having units without a garage and units with the garage helps build value internally for us to offer the garage. I think the saying is, if everyone's special, no one's special. So by offering product with both categories, we achieve an important goal of having more affordable rents, and as well as providing a higher value internally for people that do want that garage. And when I say affordable, I think that we all understand. I'm not trying to imply anything that we are not going to be affordable in any way from a technical standpoint, but I'm talking about a comparative standpoint. Obviously, it'll be easy. The rent for the non-garage unit will be less than the rent for the garaged unit. But the covered parking actually works in our other areas. In Texas, Texas, the weather isn't as hot as in Indio, but I don't know if you know this. I didn't know this until we started building there, just how crazy it is. You have heat, and then the next day you have hailstorms. So even in those cases, the fact that it's covered has been acceptable to our residents.
Okay, I might have more comments, but I'll go ahead and wait and see what the rest of my commissioners have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Gloria. Christian, question?
Yes. Okay, so I think walk me through the density, because we're saying it's the same amount of units, but the square footage is different. So can you maybe talk to me about, maybe I should start where. I was looking through the specific plan, and it very clearly states that this is meant to be for home ownership, middle market, as the chair pointed out. So I'm very surprised also that this is coming up to us as a rental space. My first question for the rental model is, if these were to go through, these are all long-term rentals. The model does not include short-term rentals?
These are all long-term rentals. We typically will sign, our typical lease is 12 to 15 months, and that would be our plan.
Okay.
In the past, we've done as short as 6 months because a lot of times, as you know, you have nurses that come in, and I forget the term right now, but where they're visiting nurses and they only need a place for a shorter than a year period. So in the case where we've built communities with that type of situation, we've done shorter, but these are not meant to be Airbnbs. These are not meant to be little party huts for all of our Coachella and Stagecoach friends. These are meant to be, like I said, ideally minimum 12-month leases.
Okay. And you mentioned something about the cost of production versus what the market would allow and profit loss there. Could you maybe just explain to me the thought process from changing the higher rise, smaller square footage in the intended specific plan, and how you came to this conclusion? Is it just specifically your model, or I guess I would just rather I would want to understand how we came from what was originally in the specific plan and was approved, and the intention and what we're being presented here now.
Sure. Well, I'm a little bit handicapped by the fact that I had nothing to do with what was originally presented to you. So I point that out because I wasn't part of those meetings, and so I'm not trying to change things up on you. And I honestly, I didn't know that was what was discussed in those meetings. But I respectfully understand where you're coming from with your questions, though. So to explain a little bit, obviously the cost of building is the cost, regardless of what we're building. If we're building a nice product, the sticks and bricks and the land are gonna cost us the same. To illustrate the different valuation, giving you an example from Arizona. So in Arizona, we built this product, and had we have put the homes on the market, when you look at the comparables and the square footage, they probably could have had a market price of about $230,000 each. But because we were renting them at rents that were, in this case, about 40% higher than the typical garden style apartment, each individual unit was valued at over $400,000 each. Now, there's no way that we could sell those homes for $400,000. As you can imagine, you can't sell a 700 square foot home for $400,000 to the general public. But from a valuation standpoint, it worked because when you value rental property, you value it based on the rents that you're achieving. You use a cap rate. I'm not sure if I'm speaking a foreign language or not, but the cap rate valuation gives us a higher valuation. If we were to value these homes as single-family detached homes, we could not sell them for what we're building them for. It wouldn't pencil. We couldn't do the community. We didn't come here trying to change your mind because we didn't know where your mind was at, but we have this model that we're building throughout the country that has been very successful with great residents and great retention. And so that when we saw this property, we thought this is the perfect property for this product because of the transitional product, because this product is not offered in the area, because of how beautiful this location is. It is a product that is high in demand, yet not offered. And because we are leasing it, the leases will be considerably lower, at 25% minimum lower than what a comparably priced home would be. So, like I said to Ms. Franz, we actually are achieving the goal. I didn't know, it wasn't a goal that we had because we didn't know that your intention was for sale only, but it does achieve the same goal that you have, just in a completely different way.
And
does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand your explanation. The other sort of question about gated communities, if you took a pass at our general plan or land use policy 7.9 around, or I'm sorry, 7.8 about gated communities and our discouragement on them. Now, a lot of the development that has come to that area, or the development that happened in the area, there's a ton of gated communities already, happened prior to this policy. Do you have any of your other sites that are not gated communities that would still allow you for the market model?
You know, the interesting thing about gated communities, I don't know if you guys know this, but the first community we built back in 2002 was in India, and it wasn't a gated community. Very successful, Cortabella, not too far from this site, actually, and it's still holding up beautifully. There's still a lot of pride of ownership when you drive through, even though there's not gates. And then after Cortabella, it was the city of Indio that pretty much honestly kind of forced us into going to gated communities, and we understood the reason why was because if the community is gated, it's all private streets, and the HOAs have to maintain the streets and take care of them. The city doesn't have that responsibility, so it was much less of a burden on the city. So it's interesting to now hear the reversal of ideas, and I can tell you that I think from a consumer preference, they would prefer that it's gated. I think it definitely creates an enhanced perceived value because even though we all know that people can slip through gates, it does create a higher sense of security and a higher sense of prestige to have gates. Is it imperative for us to offer gates? I can't tell you that it is. If that was something that you guys said, hey, we'll approve this project, but only if you remove the gates, I would say that we would be very amenable to that. But I will tell you from a consumer standpoint, now that they've become so used to gates, they do perceive that as more of a luxury item. I do think in this case in particular, because there really is only one way to get into the property and out of the property, we almost could achieve the same feel of exclusivity even if we didn't offer the gates. So I can't tell you I will leave that to your decision.
And just lastly, could you walk me maybe through the various different amendments that you're hoping to make to the specific plan? I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding what you're thinking falls within the specific plan that then gets amended, or completely asking to amend the general plan. If you could maybe walk me through the series of amendments that you're hoping to make in order to move your project forward.
Sure. It's really simple. We're not asking to amend the general plan at all. The general plan, we are in full compliance with the general plan. The general plan calls for up to 8 to the acre. The previous developer that approved the crossings map with you, he amended the general plan with a specific plan, and what he basically did is he took what he got approved and they used that to amend. And I think his density was 6.38. I might be a little bit off. Maybe one of the other members here can verify that if it matters. But it wasn't to change the general plan as much as it was to just have his map comply with the regulations. So the only thing we're asking for is not to amend the general plan, but to change the specific plan, which was essentially specific to the project that you approved, to 8 to the acre from the 6.38 to the acre that was approved.
Thank you. Any additional questions from anyone? Gloria? Any follow-ups?
No questions. I think this is a consultation, so there's no action for us to take today.
That's right.
But I think, and maybe, Mr. Barbado, if you were surprised that we thought it was going to be a entry level for sale project, I'm sorry you were not aware of that. But this really changed what we thought, at least for me, what I thought that those 16 acres were going to represent and how it blended with the rest of the community. So I would just highly recommend maybe reviewing more with staff and discussing it, because this is to me a very big change from what we thought we were discussing and the community reviewed when we first looked at these 16 acres. But we do appreciate you coming before us for this consultation. Gives us a better understanding of what you're thinking and hopefully a better understanding for you of what we were thinking.
Well, I appreciate that, but it actually doesn't quite give me a better understanding because, and I would appreciate, if you don't mind, a little bit more color on that, Ms. Franz, because I certainly understand the words that you were thinking, hey, this was going to be, a for sale community. Completely understand that part. But what I'm trying to understand is what objectives you were trying to serve in your thought that it was going to be that. Because if it's just a matter of, ooh, wow, I didn't think of that. Okay, but if it's much deeper than that, I'd like to understand your concern more so that I can see how we can comply with the concerns. I can tell you that I know that what was approved, we can't build and sell at prices that the market will accept. So the project will not be built the way that it's currently designed. Certainly not. I don't know when. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you that it is not feasible from an economic standpoint. And I'm not saying that as a threat. Please don't take it that way. I'm saying it as what we try to do, and what we've always tried to do, especially with the City of Indio, is understand your objectives so that we can design to them. And if your objective is to bring much more affordable housing, not again using the California term of affordability, but more attainable. I think that's the word that we use now. Much more attainable housing. That is exactly what we're doing, as well as bringing a product that we think is incredibly aesthetically pleasing, very compatible with our neighbors, as well as a product that our commercial neighbors will certainly be much more appreciative because of all the extra income that they'll be making from our residents who will be walking to their services and restaurants. And we're trying to be good neighbors to the east and north of us because we are single-story homes. We're not two-story homes. And we're professionally managed by a management company so that the community will always be looking tip-top. So I'm sorry I'm going on, but Ms. Franz, is there any other objective that you think the for sale product would serve that you're not so sure this serves?
I mean, I think to be honest, if you look at Avenue 50, right, it's definitely been more rural. It used to be one dwelling to 2 acres, and then it went to 1. And of course, this particular parcel, because it's right up against the commercial, right?
Yeah.
It became something that could be a little more higher density. But I don't think, at least when we first discussed it, that we all thought it would be, I think, 8 units per acre. I think when we first discussed it, the 6.2 was like, okay, that's probably about as much as, at least for me, what I felt that street could be or should be. I know there was also a lot of discussion of maintaining a little bit of similarity with the houses that are surrounding the area, which are Desert River Estates, right? They're much larger homes. And it was something that was discussed at length, with the neighbors in the area. And I just think this is a big change. It's a 30% increase. And also the units are significantly smaller, all of them, 700 square feet to, I think you said 1,200 square feet. And I'm not saying we don't need rentable units, which is we have approved some to the north. I'm just not sure it's this project. And I would definitely like to hear from the neighbors in the surrounding area, which I know this is a consultation. So when we get farther along, they will be notified and we'll see what they feel as well. And I do understand the market and, the price points that you're discussing. So I think I think I'm just surprised because it was just so different. At least that's how I feel about it. So let's see what the other commissioners say, and then we'll have to hear. I would really like to hear from the neighbors in the surrounding areas as well.
So I'd love to chime in. I am a neighbor in the surrounding areas. I'm a older millennial renter in the area. So I think I'm speaking from a very specific perspective here. The type of housing that is being provided, I don't think is in what is currently needed within that area of our city. I think one of the things that we have been really steering towards is increasing density and providing more diverse housing types because of the housing needs. I was just speaking to the city council last week about housing burdened folks. About 60% of residents within the city of Indio are considered housing burden, which means that they pay more than 30% of their income towards housing, where 1/3 of our residents are severely rent burdened, which means they pay more than 50% of their housing. And so, I feel like this proposal that we're seeing here is sort of contrary to where our mindset is and the types of housings that we want to provide for the residents that are currently here. I think this is a wonderful project to attract new folks into the city, but there is still a dire need currently in a market that is not being met. It's that middle market, this invisible middle that I think we have all, both the Planning Commission and the Council, have really set forward policies to try to address this need, particularly for the folks that I'm speaking of which I'm also a part of. And so, yeah, I want to echo Chair's Franz's comments regarding the surprise of what is in front of us, because, I think what was really exciting about the specific plan as it was approved is that there would be new housing stock that would address a need within the community, particularly for those folks that are currently living in the area and where rent is quite not affordable. And introducing this type of housing, I think, just raises questions of displacement measures, that, the way that it affects different cities. And, I happen to dabble in these sort of topics and understand the types of projects that lead to some of these things. And so, just from my perspective and my comments, I wanted to share that, I as well feel that this might not be the right type of project, and it certainly doesn't feel like it was aligned with the intentions of the original specific plan, and certainly not where we are trying to fill in some gaps. I hope that's a little bit more clarity as to at least where some of us are standing.
Yeah, it's clarity, but it creates. And again, this is a discussion, so please know that I mean absolutely no disrespect, and I do hear where you're coming from. But I guess my question to you is, okay, the general plan allows for multifamily. We're multifamily. The general plan allows for up to the acre. We're no more than 8 to the acre. The general plan allows for this product, and yet I get that you were maybe hopeful that you'd see something else and that you approved something else indeed, not much different. I mean, you had a 2-story product that was very densely packed, and that was your buffer product between the single-story homes and the commercial homes. But I don't even think it was nearly as attractive, and it was a 2-story product up to 30 feet high. And so, if you're not going to approve it, you're not going to approve it. I get that, and we will go somewhere else. But how do I overcome the fact that we are in compliance with your general plan in every way, and yet we're not going to get consideration because it's not what you anticipated based on the prior submittal? Is there some advice you can give me there?
Yeah, I appreciate the consultation, truly, because I think it's allowing us to really understand that our living document might need a little second look. We adopted this in 2020 with lots of intentions, but I think, the planning is more of an art and a science, and I think we really appreciate you coming to us, because I think this is really going to allow us to take maybe a second look at the types of overlays that we're putting in land use designations with what we're intending to do, and the types of needs that we're trying to address for residents, and then also needs regionally.
Okay. I've got, and again, thank you. I really appreciate the candor and respect. But so, from our standpoint, developing these communities, as I would imagine you would know, does not come cheaply. We can sometimes be in to a community up to $1 million in planning and studies and architecture and all the other things that we're required to do before we ever even put a stick in the air. As much as I love this property and as adamantly and passionately as I feel that this product is indeed perfect for this area and really does hit the objectives that you want, if you don't, you don't. So am I barking up the wrong tree, and should I just pack my things and go? Because I don't want to spend, another couple $100,000 only to be told, yeah, Vince, thank you, we love you. You did a lot of nice projects, but this one's not gonna go. So, what advice can you give me there, or direction, or counsel?
Thank you, Vince. This is Chair Fajardo speaking. Commissioner. Serve on multiple committees, pardon me.
Okay.
But did want to echo some of the same questions that were brought up by both the chair and by my fellow commissioner here were already answered. And to help answer your question, I think that would have to, go back to your business development efforts and really look at, an alternative product, possibly, because one of the things that I'm wrestling with is looking at our residents here, knowing our demographics. This particular product, although it's very innovative and I think it fits nicely in maybe the communities you had mentioned, I just don't foresee, our types, older millennials, current residents of Indio that may be in these demographic groups that you mentioned early on, that would afford a luxury rental like this, unless we're attracting a demographic group from outside the city of Indio, when we are in a housing dilemma for attainable housing. And so, although I really appreciate your presentation, really appreciate the beautiful communities that family development has built for the city of Indio in the past, there are some concerns relative to the housing crisis that we see as a priority in the city of Indio. And not just housing in general, but attainable housing. Attainable housing for those that, unfortunately, Mr. Christian had mentioned, that do fall in that bracket where folks are distressed. And so as we understand, while there is a need for these types of housing dwelling areas, these bungalows as you call them, it may not necessarily be the priority that we see fit for the city at the moment. And while we can kind of go back and forth and conjecture and make assumptions on this, I think that provides you with some semblance of maybe what to bring back to your business development group and maybe come up with some alternative options. And at this point, gives us some time to inspect maybe, our plans to ensure that we do prioritize particular areas within the city that fit that particular need. So having said that, unless there's any other comments from the commissioners, we'd like to move on at this time, if we may.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your candor also, and again, like I said, we're here to work together. We're not here to fight or impose ourselves. Not that we even could if we wanted to, but we are here to work with you. I hope that you know that our reputation in the city has always been, I think, very, very great in that regard. So I appreciate all the comments. And taking the time to give me a deeper understanding of them. So thank you.
Thank you, Vince. All right. Seeing what's next on the agenda item, we do have our commissioner comments at this time. Anybody like to start? Christian?
Sure. Well, I want to start off by saying,
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, she's coming back in. That's right. We're going to go ahead and take a 3-minute recess while she joins us. All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Welcome back, Commissioner Jackie. We are at the commissioner comments at this point. So Christian, you had a few comments, right?
Yeah, I just want to start off by saying Happy Pride Month to all that celebrate. And also, I wanted to take this opportunity to, there was something that was raised, and maybe this is something that we can address during the staff items, Kendra, but there was a $100,000 sort of rollover in the presentation that was given to City Council from the general fund regarding the housing element implementation. And so I'm just really curious if that's not something that we can hear, what were sort of the items that were earmarked for that funding. I'm just curious if that could be brought back to us to better understand how that $100,000 was supposed to be spent in implementation for fiscal year 23-24, and then how can we support to make sure that we're putting in some of these earmarked funds for implementation of our housing element. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez, any comments?
I have no comments, and if we have staff comments, we can go ahead and have staff, and then we can go ahead and adjourn, right?
There are no staff comments, but I will look into your request and get back to you with an answer for the next planning commission meeting.
And Chair Franz, any comments?
No, I think I'm good.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Seeing no comments, we're going to move to adjourn. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn our meeting to the next planning meeting on June 26, 2024 at the same time in the same place.
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Rodriguez Ceja,
Yes.
Commissioner Fajardo,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lopez,
Yes.
Chairperson Franz,
Yes.
motion carries.